So next, Tony Parker.
First ballot.
You're saying definitively first ballot?
No. I'm thinking about.
Okay.
I am going to say no, because if you compare him directly with Pau Gasol, depending on who else is in that class, if other people are at Pau's level or above it, right? Again, the Kobe's and so on and so forth, then Tony has to be left out, because Tony has, except for the fact that he has more championships, but he played with the best power forward ever. So, it's he was. I don't know if the Spurs had other factors above Tony Parker as to why they won their championships. Even though he was important, he wasn't as important as Powell was, because Powell in the Orlando championship, Powell defended Dwight Howard excellently, and his primary job was to defend the best player on the other team, which is not something that's going to show up in the stat sheet. But he figured out Dwight could only turn over one shoulder, him and Phil Jackson, and he stuck to that assignment and made Dwight worse as a result. And that's part of the reason they got those guys in 5 games. That's huge. And against Boston, he has to deal with Kevin Garnett, and that's no easy task. And Boston, on paper, had more talent, but the greatness of Powell and Kobe, shifted the numbers in their favor. Whereas with Tony, it's a slightly lesser version of that, both from the numbers, both from the international accomplishments, even though he has more championships. So does he have less All-Stars than Powell?
Same amount of All-Stars.
Same amount of All-Stars. So, yeah. And Tony benefited from those All-Stars not being in this era, because if Tony Parker played in the Curry-Westbrook era, he would have no All-Stars. So, whereas Powell would still probably make the All-Star team as a power forward in today's game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say he'd have no All-Stars, but I definitely think he'd have fewer. But the one thing that Tony has that Gasol doesn't have, and if you do consider the fact that he played with the greatest power forward of all time, I think this is really significant for his Hall of Fame resume, is the fact that he won the NBA Finals MVP.
That's great. And that's
a big deal. That's a big deal, because there are very few NBA Finals MVPs who are not Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I get that. But here's the thing. First of all, that's a voted award, and you know how I feel about voted awards. Second of all, what finals did he get that Hall of Fame MVP in?
The 06-07 finals.
And who is that against?
I mean, I don't know that matters.
No, that team was trash. You could have gave that to the water boy. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You could have signed Sean Elliott to a 10-day
just because they beat a bad Cavs team. So that means
that's why. So it's like I don't look at that the same way I look. Well, here's the thing, right? When I look at Kobe Bryant's Finals MVPs, that's different than Tony Parker's Finals MVPs. You know, in fact, a better comparison is
all Finals. And Andre Iguodala, Cedric Maxwell.
That's I view Andre Iguodala's as different, because he got the MVP for guarding LeBron James. Tony Parker got the MVP. Who he beat up on? Larry Hughes and Eric Snow?
I see. Okay. I understand and I agree that all NBA Finals MVP awards are not created equal. I completely agree with that, right?
And I'm not saying this keeps him out the Hall of Fame, but it depends on
what I'm saying is Tony Parker was not a role player. You know, those guys were role players. And I don't think Chauncey Billups wasn't a role player. You know, but if you're talking about Iguodala and Cedric Maxwell, those guys were role players. So they, they call lightning in the bottle, essentially. Matchup, or situation. Cedric Maxwell was looked at to just purely score the ball. I believe it was 1981 is when he won the Finals MVP, and that was his thing. He came in, he lit it up, right? Tony Parker was more than that, and I don't think I can, just because they played a bad team, I'm not gonna just crap on his Finals MVP award. It was the Finals. We're
comparing it to somebody else's resume.
But
I'm saying, I don't think it puts his resume up to Pau Gasol's resume. I think Pau Gasol's resume is greater than Tony's resume.
But what I'm saying is, Gasol, the Lakers beat the Orlando Magic team wasn't a great Finals team. They weren't a great Finals team.
But he had one of the toughest assignments in that situation because Dwight Howard was a great player, and he had to guard the toughest part of that team.
I think Dwight Howard was a very well. I don't know.
He made the finals and beat LeBron James that year. So in 6 games, like
yeah. I mean,
that year he was a great player. If he was that player today, we'd be talking about him.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's why I stopped short. I didn't say he wasn't a great player, but I don't know. I think we got to be careful.
So to clarify, you have Tony ahead of Pau Gasol?
No, I didn't say that. That's
okay.
So
you do agree with me? You just kicking and screaming while you do it? Is that
what no?
Because that's kind of what you always do.
No, what I wanted to do was I wanted to clarify.
Right. I agree.
No, I wanted to clarify that you weren't properly giving Tony Parker as much
you all the props. I think
as props as he deserves. Now that said, no, I don't think he is a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Y'all see how you do.
I don't think he is.
I'm glad we have such smart supporters on this channel.
Well, I think it's important to properly represent people. You know, you got to see, and sometimes you can be real dismissive to greatness. You know, you did it to Damian Maya. Now you're doing it to Tony Parker. You know, you just flick that elbow out at guys. You know, get out of here. You know, and you can't do that to people. You dismiss greatness a lot, and I
just report the facts, Brian.
No. You underreport greatness. Is what you do. It's terrible.